The alarm screamed through the Galactic Council monitoring station, a sound that had not been heard in 300 years. Operator Velneth's 4 eyes widened as her screen flooded with red warning symbols. Every single Sentinel station around the Sol system had gone dark. All 10,000 of them, simultaneously. "This is impossible," she whispered, her translator struggling with the fear in her voice. She pressed the emergency contact button with a trembling hand. Within seconds, her supervisor appeared on the screen. "What is the problem?" he demanded. "The quarantine network around Sol. It's gone." The supervisor's face went pale. His species did not have good color, but everyone in the galaxy knew what Sol meant, what humans meant. 3 centuries ago, humanity had burst into galactic society like a storm. They were loud, aggressive, and impossibly curious. Worse, they were violent. Not in the way of criminals or pirates, but in a systematic, organized way that terrified the peaceful species of the Council. Humans had weapons that served no purpose but to kill other humans. They had entire industries built around making better ways to destroy each other. They studied war like the Council studied poetry. After several incidents where human ships had accidentally violated Council space, after trade disputes that nearly turned into shooting matches, and after humanity refused to disarm, the Council made a decision. They would quarantine Sol, lock humanity in their home system until they learned to be peaceful. It was for everyone's safety, they said. For the good of the galaxy, the blockade had been perfect. 10,000 automated stations, each equipped with shields and weapons, formed an impenetrable shell around the solar system. No ship could leave. No signal could escape. Humanity was cut off from the galaxy, left to mature in isolation. The Council told themselves it was temporary. Just until humans learned their lesson, that had been 300 years ago. No one had heard from humanity since. Now the blockade was gone. Within hours, the Council's fastest ships arrived at Sol. Commander Thress stood on the bridge of his vessel, staring at the empty space where the Sentinel network should have been. His crew ran every scan they possessed. They found nothing. No debris, no radiation signatures, no trace that 10,000 stations had ever existed. "Check for human ships," Thress ordered. The scan came back empty. Sol's system was quiet. Earth still orbited its star. The human colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter showed no activity. It was as if everyone had simply vanished. "Sir," his sensor officer said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission." "From where?" "Unknown origin. It contains only coordinates and a timestamp." Thress felt his skin prickle. "Show me." The coordinates appeared on the main screen. They pointed to a location deep in neutral space far from any Council world. The timestamp was for 3 days from now. "It's an invitation," Thress said. "They want us to meet them." The Council debated for 2 days. Some members argued it was a trap. Others insisted they had to investigate. Finally, they agreed to send a small fleet to the coordinates. 6 ships fully armed with orders to retreat at the first sign of danger. Thress commanded the mission. As they dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the designated coordinates, every sensor on every ship screamed warnings at once. "Mother of stars," someone whispered. Before them floated a structure so massive it dominated the view screen. It was a shipyard, but unlike anything the Council had ever built. The scale was impossible. Dozens of construction arms reached out from a central core, each one larger than Thress's entire ship. Energy readings pulsed through the structure like a heartbeat, and in the center, held by massive clamps, was something that made Thress's blood run cold. A ship, but not any ship he recognized. It was over 2 kilometers long, shaped like a blade covered in armor plating that gleamed under the shipyard's lights. Every line of its design screamed one thing: war. "That is a warship," his tactical officer said unnecessarily. "A real one." The Council had not built real warships in 2,000 years. There was no need. The galaxy was at peace. Disputes were settled through diplomacy and economic pressure. The closest things to warships in Council space were retrofitted cargo vessels with light weapons for dealing with pirates. Those ships were designed to disable, not destroy. Designed to protect, not attack. This thing was designed to kill. "Scan it," Thress ordered. "I want to know everything." The data that came back made no sense. The armor was 3 meters thick in places. The weapon systems covered every angle, creating overlapping fields of fire that would make approaching it suicide. The reactor signature suggested power output that exceeded anything in the Council database. This ship could probably destroy his entire fleet without taking damage. "Sir, we are detecting other structures in nearby space," the sensor officer reported. "Energy signatures consistent with industrial facilities. Multiple locations, how many?" "At least 30 within scanning range. Possibly more beyond that." Thress felt sick. Humanity had not just escaped. They had been building. For how long? How had they hidden this? The void reaches, he realized. The uncharted regions of space that the Council avoided because of dangerous radiation and unpredictable gravity wells. Humanity had used it as cover. "Get me the Council," Thress said. "Now." The emergency session lasted 6 hours. Every species on the Council had an opinion. Fear spread like disease through their chambers. The humans were free. The humans had warships. The humans had been preparing for something. "We should have destroyed them when we had the chance," one delegate declared. "We should never have imprisoned them," another countered. The debate went in circles until the military advisors presented their analysis. The human shipyard was still active. The battleship was not yet complete. If they acted now, they could destroy it before it became operational. It was their only chance to maintain the balance of power. The vote was close, but it passed. A strike force would be assembled. 12 of the Council's largest warships would travel to the shipyard and destroy it. Destroy the humans' capability to threaten the galaxy. Thress tried to argue against it. "We don't know what else they have out there." This could be a mistake, but the Council was decided. Fear made them bold. They would eliminate the threat. The fleet assembled quickly. 12 ships representing 10 different species, all united in purpose. They jumped to faster than light speed, heading for the coordinates of the shipyard. As they traveled, Thress reviewed the intelligence reports. The human battleship was still attached to its construction cradle. Still incomplete, they would have the element of surprise. When they dropped out of FTL near the shipyard, everything seemed quiet. The massive structure hung in space, lights glowing along its surface. The battleship was exactly where it should be, connected to the construction arms by thick umbilical cables. "All ships, prepare to fire on my mark," Thress transmitted. "Target the battleship's reactor. We end this now." His weapons officer locked targeting systems. Across the fleet, 11 other ships did the same. Their weapons charged, ready to fire. Then the battleship moved, not by much. Just a small rotation on its axis. But it moved under its own power, not pulled by the construction arms. Warning lights flickered across Thress's console. "Sir," his sensor officer said, voice shaking. "The battleship's reactor is powering up." Sir, the energy output is increasing. It's already equal to our entire fleet combined." Thress watched in horror as the umbilical cables detached. The construction arms pulled away. The massive vessel hung free in space, and along its hull lights began to glow. Weapon ports opened. Shield generators hummed to life. It had been operational all along. They had fallen into a trap. "All ships retreat." Thress screamed. "Jump to FTL now!" But the battleship was already moving, accelerating toward them with impossible speed. The battleship cut through space like a knife through water. Thress watched his displays in disbelief as the massive vessel accelerated faster than any ship he had ever seen. Physics said it should be impossible. A ship that large should be slow, cumbersome. Instead, it moved like a fighter craft. "Evasive maneuvers," he shouted. "All ships scatter." The Council fleet broke formation, each ship racing in a different direction. Thress's vessel dove toward the planetary plane while others climbed or spiraled away. Standard pirate fighting tactics. Divide and confuse. The human battleship did not seem confused. "Sir, they are not pursuing any of us," his tactical officer reported. "They are maintaining course directly toward us. Fire all weapons." Now, every weapon on Thress's ship opened up. Energy beams lanced across space, striking the battleship's forward armor. Missiles streaked toward their target, their warheads designed to overload shields and disable systems. It was more firepower than Thress had ever unleashed at once. The beams splashed against the armor like water against stone. The missiles detonated against shields that barely flickered. Not a single shot penetrated. "Impossible," the weapons officer whispered. "All ships concentrate fire," Thress transmitted to the fleet.
"Focus everything on one point."
11 other ships added their weapons to the barrage. The space between the Council fleet and the human battleship lit up with energy and explosions. It was the most concentrated firepower the Council had deployed in 2,000 years. The battleship kept coming. Its shields held. Its armor did not even glow hot. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel," the communications officer said. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was calm, almost bored. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, though with an accent that reminded Thress of ancient recordings from 300 years ago. "Council ships, you are firing on us. Please explain." Thress gripped his command chair. "You are constructing warships in violation of galactic peace treaties. We are authorized to stop you." A pause. Then something that might have been a laugh. "We never signed your treaties. You imprisoned us before we got the chance. And you might want to stop shooting. You are wasting ammunition." The transmission cut off. The battleship continued its approach, now less than 50 kilometers away. At this range, Thress could see details through the main view screen. The armor was not smooth but layered, each plate overlapping the next. The weapon ports were recessed deep into the hull. This ship had been designed by people who understood combat in ways the Council had forgotten. "They are not firing back," his tactical officer noted. "Why?" Thress realized the truth with growing horror. "Because they do not need to. They are showing us how outmatched we are." As if responding to his words, the battleship finally opened fire. It started with the railguns. Thress did not even see the projectiles. One moment the Council ship Brave Unity was there. The next, a tungsten slug traveling at 30% the speed of light punched through its shields, through its hull, and out the other side. The ship broke apart, explosions rippling along its length as atmosphere vented into space. 7 seconds. "One shot, one kill, evasive action," Thress screamed, but his pilot was already moving. The ship twisted and dove, engines screaming at maximum output. Around them, other Council vessels did the same, braking in every direction. The battleship tracked them all. More railgun shots. The ship Peaceful Venture disintegrated. Harmonious Journey lost its entire aft section. The crew compartment survived, but the ship tumbled out of control, lifeless. Then came the missiles. Not the simple warheads the Council used, but sophisticated weapons that adjusted their trajectory mid-flight, that dodged the Council's defensive fire, that split into multiple warheads at the last second. 3 ships tried to shoot them down. All 3 failed. All 3 died. Thress's ship shook as a near miss sent shrapnel tearing through their port side. Alarms screamed. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 8. Engineering was venting atmosphere. The reactor was unstable. "We need to jump to FTL," his navigator shouted. "Not yet. We will abandon the others if we run." "There are no others left to save, sir." Thress looked at his tactical display. Of the 12 ships that had come here, only 4 were still intact. 2 more were crippled but not destroyed. 6 were gone completely, their crews dead or dying in escape pods. The entire battle had lasted 11 minutes. "All ships, retreat to Rally Point Delta," Thress transmitted. "Jump to FTL on my mark." His surviving ships acknowledged. They began to align for the jump, their drives charging. Thress expected the human battleship to fire again, to finish them off. Instead, it stopped shooting. The massive vessel hung in space, weapons still charged but silent. Then a new transmission came through. This time it was broadcast on every frequency, in every galactic language strong enough that even the escape pods would receive it. "Council forces, you came here to destroy us. We have demonstrated that you cannot. Your ships are crippled, not destroyed, because we choose mercy. We could end you all right now. We will not. Not today." The voice paused, letting that sink in. "You imprisoned us 300 years ago for being warlike. You should have left us alone. You gave us 3 centuries to think, to plan, to prepare. You gave us time to perfect what we do best. This is the result." Another pause. "Return to your council. Tell them that humanity is free. Tell them that we will not be caged again. Tell them that if they threaten us, this will be the least of their worries." The transmission ended. The battleship powered down its weapons. It simply hung there waiting. "Sir, should we fire?" his weapons officer asked. "With what?" Thress replied bitterly. "We have used 70% of our ammunition." It did nothing. "Then what do we do?" Thress looked at his crippled ship, his dead crew members, his defeated fleet. "We do what they told us. We go home. We deliver their message." The surviving Council ships jumped to FTL, limping away from the battlefield. Behind them, the human battleship watched them go. Then it too vanished, its drives engaging with a flash of blue light. The rescue operation took 2 days. Council ships arrived to collect escape pods and survivors. The death toll was staggering. Over 4,000 crew members lost, 6 ships completely destroyed. It was the worst military defeat in Council history. But the real shock came when intelligence officers analyzed the battlefield data. They tracked the human battleship's jump vector. They calculated its destination, Kelshara, the Council capital, homeworld of the Kelsha, the species that had proposed the human quarantine 300 years ago, the planet where every major Council decision was made. The humans were not running away. They were taking the fight to the heart of the galaxy. Thress delivered his report to the full Council assembly. He stood before representatives of 30 species and told them the truth. Humanity had not just escaped their prison. Humanity had evolved beyond the Council's understanding of warfare. They had spent 300 years doing nothing but preparing for this moment. How many more of these warships do they have? A delegate demanded. We do not know, Thress admitted. But the shipyard we found was massive. It could build dozens of these vessels. Then we mobilize everything, another delegate said. Every ship from every world. We will crush them with numbers. You do not understand, Thress said quietly. They let us live. That battleship could have destroyed us all and taken 0 damage. It showed mercy, but it also showed that our weapons are useless against it. Our tactics are outdated. Our technology is inferior. We are not prepared for this kind of war. What are you saying? I am saying that we imprisoned humanity because they were violent, because they studied war while we studied peace. We told ourselves we were more civilized, more advanced, but we just gave the most warlike species in the galaxy 300 years with nothing to do but become better at war. Thress looked around the chamber. We created the thing we feared most, and now it is coming for us. The chamber fell silent. Through the windows, they could see Kelshara's sun setting over the capital city. Somewhere out in the darkness, beyond their borders, beyond their defenses, the human battleship was coming. The Council had 4 days to prepare. 4 days to figure out how to stop something they had helped create. 4 days before humanity arrived to deliver its message in person. The emergency alert reached every corner of Kelshara within an hour of Thress's report. 12 billion people received the same message on their communication devices. A human warship was coming. Evacuation procedures were in effect. Stay calm. Follow instructions. Nobody stayed calm. The streets of the capital city filled with people trying to leave. Spaceports became war zones as citizens fought for seats on outbound ships. The wealthy bribed their way onto private vessels. The poor were left behind, promised that shelters would protect them when the attack came. Premier Kylus stood in the Council's war room, watching holographic displays show the chaos. She was Kelsha, one of the founding species of the Galactic Council. Her grandparents had voted to quarantine humanity. Now humanity was coming for revenge. How long do we have? She asked. 4 days until the human ship arrives, her military advisor responded. Maybe less if it travels faster than our calculations predict. And our defenses? The advisor pulled up a new display. It showed Kelshara system and every ship currently en route. We have called in every available vessel from surrounding sectors. 412 ships will arrive within 3 days. We have also mobilized every orbital platform, defense satellite, and military installation on Kelshara itself. Will it be enough? The advisor hesitated. Premier, I must be honest. Commander Thress's report suggests one human battleship destroyed or crippled half his fleet in 11 minutes. We will have superior numbers, but numbers have to count for something, Kylus interrupted. This is our home. We will defend it with everything we have. Around Kelshara, engineers worked day and night to turn anything into a weapon. Mining lasers were retrofitted with targeting computers. Construction drones were loaded with explosives and programmed to ram enemy vessels. Orbital factories began producing missiles by the thousands, using designs that had not been manufactured in centuries. The Council fleet assembled in the outer system. 400 ships from 30 different species, each one carrying crews who had never seen real combat. Their commanders held strategy meetings, trying to develop tactics that might work against an enemy they did not understand. We create a layered defense, Admiral Joran proposed. He was an old Kelsha, retired from service and brought back because he had actually studied military history. First layer is minefields and missile platforms at the system's edge. Second layer is fast attack ships to harass and slow them down. Third layer is our main fleet, concentrated to deliver maximum firepower. Fourth layer is the orbital defenses around Kelshara itself. What if they break through all 4 layers? Someone asked. Joran had no answer. On the second day of preparation, they intercepted a transmission. It was coming from the human battleship. Still 2 days away, but close enough now that their communications reached Kelshara. The Council's intelligence officers worked frantically to decode it. What they found surprised them. The transmission was not encrypted. Humans wanted them to hear it. It was an internal communication between the battleship's command crew. Navigation, confirm our course, a woman's voice said. Calm, professional, with no hint of excitement or fear. Course confirmed, Admiral Chen. We will arrive at Kelshara in 43 hours. Weapon status? All systems nominal. Railguns loaded and calibrated. Missile batteries at 100%. Point defense systems online. Good. Remember, we are not here to destroy. We are here to remind them that humanity will not be imprisoned again. Minimum force necessary. Understood, Admiral. The transmission ended. Kylus listened to it 3 times, trying to understand. Minimum force necessary? The humans talked about invasion like it was a routine training exercise. No anger, no revenge, just cold professionalism. Somehow that was more terrifying than rage would have been. They have done this before, she realized. Not to us, but to someone. They have fought wars. Real wars recently. Her intelligence chief nodded. We are analyzing the transmission for details. The ship's designation is TCNS Indomitable. TCNS likely means Terran Colonial Naval Ship. That suggests they have colonies, multiple colonies, and a navy to protect them. Who have they been fighting? Unknown. But they have clearly been active in the void reaches for some time. On the 3rd day, long-range sensors detected the human battleship entering the system. Every alarm on every ship screamed warnings. The massive vessel had dropped out of faster-than-light travel exactly where they predicted it would. It sat at the edge of the system, silent, apparently waiting. First layer, you are authorized to engage, Joran transmitted. The minefields activated. Thousands of explosive devices, each one powerful enough to cripple a cargo ship, arranged in a deadly web. The human battleship began moving forward, accelerating slowly. The first mines detonated when the ship came within range. Massive explosions bloomed in space. Nuclear and antimatter reactions designed to overwhelm any shield. The battleship disappeared in the fireballs. For a moment, the Council forces allowed themselves to hope. Then the battleship emerged, shields glowing but intact. It had taken the full force of 50 mines and showed no damage. It continued forward, and as it moved, its point defense systems came alive. Laser turrets tracked and destroyed mines before they could detonate. Missiles were shot down kilometers away. The ship carved a path through the minefield like it was not there. Second layer, engage, Joran ordered. 200 fast attack ships swarmed toward the battleship. They were small, quick vessels designed to overwhelm larger targets with speed and numbers. They opened fire from all directions, their weapons coordinated to strike simultaneously. The human ship did not slow down. Its shields absorbed the attacks. Its point defense systems tracked every ship, destroying missiles and intercepting energy beams. Then its own weapons fired, not the railguns. Those would waste ammunition. Instead, the battleship used laser batteries, precise and efficient. Each shot burned through a small ship's shields and hull in seconds. 10 ships died in the first 30 seconds. 20 more in the next minute. The attack ships broke off, retreating to the main fleet. They had lost 60 vessels and had not damaged the battleship at all. All ships prepare to engage, Joran transmitted. His voice was steady, but Kylus could hear the fear underneath. Concentrate all fire on that ship. Do not let it reach Kelshara. 400 ships formed a wall between the battleship and their homeworld. It was the largest military force assembled in 2,000 years. Every weapon on every ship charged and targeted the approaching enemy. Fire. Space lit up like a sun. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes, everything the Council had poured toward the human battleship. The light was so bright that crews had to shield their eyes. The sensors went haywire trying to track all the firepower. When the light faded, the battleship was still there. Its shields flickered and sparked, clearly stressed by the assault. For the first time, it had taken real damage. The forward armor showed scorch marks, but it was still coming. Then something happened that broke the Council's resolve. The battleship was not alone anymore. 3 more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were identical to the first, massive, armored, bristling with weapons. They took up formation beside the first battleship, and together the 4 human ships advanced on the Council fleet. "How many of these ships do they have?" Someone screamed over the communication channels. The 4 battleships broadcast simultaneously. "Council forces, this is Admiral Chen of the Terran Colonial Navy. We are the TCNS Indomitable, Relentless, Defiant, and Unbroken. You have one opportunity to stand down and open negotiations. If you continue to fire upon us, we will respond with full force." Admiral Joran looked at his tactical display. 4 battleships against 400 Council ships. The numbers should favor the Council. But he had seen what one battleship could do. 4 of them together? "All ships hold fire," he transmitted. "I repeat, hold fire. What are you doing?" Kylus demanded over their private channel. "Saving lives," Joran replied. "Premier, we cannot win this fight. Those 4 ships will tear through our fleet. We need to hear what they have to say." Kylus wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. The mines had failed. The attack ships had failed. Their main fleet had fired everything they had and barely scratched one battleship. What would 4 of them do? "Council command to human vessels," she transmitted. "We are standing down." "What are your terms?" Admiral Chen's voice came through, still calm and professional. "We want 3 things. First, formal recognition of human sovereignty over all territories we currently control. Second, establishment of diplomatic relations between humanity and the Galactic Council. Third, the immediate removal of any restrictions or sanctions against human ships and citizens. And if we refuse, a pause." Then Chen spoke again, and for the first time there was an edge to her voice. "Then we will demonstrate why your ancestors were right to fear us. We do not want to destroy Kelshara. We do not want to kill billions of people. But we will ensure that humanity is never imprisoned again. The choice is yours." Kylus looked at the holographic display. 4 human battleships hung in space, weapons charged, waiting for her answer. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, there might be more. How many colonies did humans have? How large was their fleet? The council chamber erupted into chaos. 30 species, each with their own opinions, their own fears, their own pride, all shouting at once. Some demanded they fight. Others begged for peace. A few suggested running, abandoning Kelshara, and regrouping elsewhere. Premier Kylus slammed her hand on the podium, the sharp crack echoing through the chamber. "Silence. We have 53 minutes to make a decision that will affect the entire galaxy. We will not waste it arguing like children." The chamber quieted, though anger and fear still radiated from every delegate. "The humans have given us 3 demands," Kylus continued. "Recognition of their sovereignty, diplomatic relations, and removal of restrictions. Let us address each one. Councillor Vren, what territories do humans currently control?" The intelligence officer pulled up a holographic map. "Based on energy signatures and communication intercepts, we believe humans have colonized at least 200 worlds in the void reaches. Possibly more. They have industrial facilities, shipyards, and what appears to be a significant civilian population." Gasps filled the chamber. 200 worlds in 300 years? That was faster than any species in Council history had expanded. "How did we not detect this?" someone demanded. "The void reaches are filled with radiation storms and gravitational anomalies," Vren explained. "We avoided those regions because they were too dangerous. Apparently humans did not find them too dangerous." "Of course they did not," a delegate muttered. "Humans thrive on danger," Kylus continued. "If we recognize their sovereignty over these territories, we essentially accept that a new power has emerged in the galaxy. One that rivals or exceeds the Council's own reach. That is unacceptable," shouted Councillor Tharn, a military hardliner. "We are the Galactic Council. We have maintained peace for 2,000 years. We cannot allow one species to dictate terms to us." "Can we stop them?" Kylus asked bluntly. "Admiral Joran, your honest assessment. Can our forces defeat 4 human battleships?" Joran stood slowly. The old admiral looked tired, worn down by the reality of their situation. "No. If we engage, we will lose 60 to 70% of our fleet. Possibly more. Those 4 ships will likely survive. And if humans have more vessels like them," he shook his head, "we cannot win this battle." "Then we negotiate," said Councillor Mesa, a dove who had always advocated for peaceful solutions. "We give them what they want, and show weakness to every other species in the galaxy?" Tharn countered. "If we surrender to human demands, what stops others from making demands? The Council's authority will collapse. Our authority will mean nothing if we are all dead." Mesa shot back. Kylus held up her hand again. There is another option. We negotiate, but we make demands of our own. If humans want recognition and diplomacy, they must agree to peace. They must share technology to prevent imbalance. They must accept council oversight of some kind. Will they accept that? We have 40 minutes to find out. Prepare a counteroffer. The council's diplomatic team worked frantically, crafting a response that would preserve some measure of council authority while acknowledging the reality of human power. They proposed a mutual non-aggression pact, technology exchange agreements, and a gradual integration of humanity into council structures. With 5 minutes remaining on the 1-hour deadline, Kylus transmitted their response to the human fleet. Admiral Chen, we are prepared to recognize human sovereignty and establish diplomatic relations. However, we request mutual terms, non-aggression guarantees, technology sharing to prevent destabilization, a structured path toward full council membership for humanity. The response came quickly. Stand by, Premier Kylus. We are discussing your terms. Those 5 minutes stretched into 10, then 15. The deadline passed. The human battleships made no move to attack, but they also gave no response. The council forces waited, weapons charged, not knowing if the next moment would bring negotiation or destruction. Finally, Admiral Chen's voice returned. Premier, I am going to be very honest with you. My orders are clear. Secure human sovereignty and prevent future imprisonment. I have the authority to accept reasonable terms that accomplish those goals. However, you should understand the full situation before we proceed. A new holographic image appeared on the council's displays. It showed a map of space far more detailed than anything their intelligence had provided. The void reaches were marked with hundreds of points of light, human colonies, stations, and facilities. But that was not what made the council delegates gasp. The map showed fleet positions, dozens of them, each representing multiple ships. What you see here is not our full strength, Chen continued. It is not even a significant portion of it. The 4 battleships at Kelshara represent one diplomatic mission. Behind them, in secure space, we have fleets of similar vessels. We have industrial capacity that took 300 years to build. We have a population of over 80 billion across 217 worlds. The chamber fell absolutely silent. We agreed to your quarantine because we were young and weak, Chen said. We were one world, barely reaching into our own solar system. You locked us away because you feared what we might become. Well, you gave us 300 years to become exactly what you feared. We are no longer young. We are no longer weak. And we will never be imprisoned again. She paused, letting that sink in. Now your terms are reasonable. We will agree to non-aggression. We will share some technology, though not our most advanced military systems. I am sure you understand why. And we are willing to pursue diplomatic integration over time. But you need to understand something crucial. The holographic map zoomed in, showing specific fleet positions and industrial sites. Humanity is not asking to join the council as a junior member. We are not requesting permission to exist. We are informing you of reality. Humanity is now a peer power in this galaxy, possibly the dominant power. How you choose to respond to that reality will determine whether we become allies, neutral parties, or something else. Councillor Tharn stood abruptly. Are you threatening us? No, Chen replied. I am stating facts. You created this situation 300 years ago, when you decided imprisonment was preferable to coexistence. You gave the most militaristic species you had ever encountered 3 centuries with no distractions, no trade, no diplomacy, nothing but time to focus on survival and expansion. What did you think would happen? Kylus found her voice. Admiral Chen, what guarantee do we have that you will honor any agreement? What stops humanity from using this power to conquer the galaxy? For the first time, Chen's tone softened slightly. The same thing that should have stopped you from imprisoning us, basic decency. Premier, humans are aggressive, yes. We are competitive and sometimes violent. But we are not monsters. Most of us do not want war. We want to live, trade, explore, and be left alone. We came here not to destroy you, but to ensure you understand that you cannot control us anymore. And if we refuse your terms, then we leave. We establish our own territory, our own borders. We defend them with everything we have. And the galaxy will have to adapt to the presence of an independent human nation. One way or another, the quarantine is over. You can either accept that peacefully or learn to accept it the hard way. The council chamber erupted again. Some delegates were furious at what they saw as human arrogance. Others were terrified of the implications. A few pragmatists immediately began calculating how to turn this situation to their advantage. Kylus watched the holographic map, seeing the scope of human expansion. 200 worlds, 80 billion people, industrial capacity built over 3 centuries, and worst of all, a military that had been designed from the ground up with one purpose: to ensure humanity never ended up in a cage again. The Council had 3 choices: fight and lose catastrophically, refuse and watch as human power grew unchallenged, or adapt to the new reality and hope that integration would prevent the worst outcomes. It was not really a choice at all. "Admiral Chen," Kylus said quietly, "we accept your terms. Human sovereignty will be recognized. Diplomatic relations will be established. All restrictions against human vessels and citizens will be lifted immediately. We will begin negotiations for the Non-Aggression Pact and technology exchanges. Thank you, Premier. We will transmit our diplomatic team's contact information. They will arrive at a neutral location within 1 week to begin formal negotiations. Admiral, may I ask one question?" "Of course. What would you have done if we had refused?" A long pause. Then Chen answered with brutal honesty. "We would have disabled your orbital defenses, forced your fleet to surrender, and broadcast our terms to every world in the Council. Then we would have left, and you would have spent the next century wondering when we would return. Fear can be as effective as force, Premier. Sometimes more so." The transmission ended. The 4 human battleships began moving away from Kelshara, their weapons powering down. They had made their point without firing a shot. Now they were leaving, victorious without a battle. Kylus watched them go, these ships that represented everything the Council had tried to prevent. She thought about her grandparents who had voted to quarantine humanity. They had believed they were protecting the galaxy from a dangerous species. Instead, they had created the galaxy's greatest power. The treaty negotiations took place on a neutral station at the edge of Council space. The location was chosen carefully, far enough from human territory that the Council did not feel threatened, but close enough to the void reaches that humanity could deploy forces quickly if needed. Not that anyone said this out loud, but everyone understood it. Premier Kylus led the Council delegation. Admiral Chen represented humanity, though she made it clear she was there as a diplomat, not a military commander. With her came a team of human negotiators, scientists, and cultural advisors. The Council got its first real look at humanity in 300 years. They looked ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, shorter than Kelsha, taller than Bren. Their eyes moved constantly, always watching, always assessing. They smiled often, but the Council delegates learned quickly that a human smile could mean many things. Sometimes welcome, sometimes threat, sometimes both at once. "The first item on our agenda," Chen began, "is the formal recognition treaty. Humanity will be recognized as a sovereign nation with full rights under galactic law. In exchange, we agree to respect existing Council borders and territories." "Agreed," Kylus said. Second item, the Non-Aggression Pact. This took longer to negotiate. The Council wanted guarantees that humanity would not expand into Council space. Humanity wanted guarantees that no other quarantines or restrictions would be imposed. Both sides wanted loopholes to protect their interests. It took 3 days of intense discussion to reach acceptable language. The technology sharing agreement was even more difficult. "We need your shield technology," a Council scientist explained. "Our analysis shows your shields are 50 times more efficient than ours. That level of imbalance creates instability." Chen shook her head. "Our shields are based on 300 years of continuous development. We are not going to hand you the keys to our defenses. However, we will share some civilian technology, medical advances, agricultural improvements, industrial efficiency methods. That is not enough to maintain balance." "Balance?" Chen's voice took on an edge. "You want balance? Where was balance when you imprisoned us? Where was balance when you had all the power and we had none?" The room fell silent. Finally, Kylus intervened. "Admiral Chen is right. We cannot demand that they give up the advantages they worked 3 centuries to achieve. However, humanity, you must understand that the technology gap creates fear. Fear leads to desperate actions." Chen considered this. "We will establish a technology exchange program. Limited, controlled, focused on defensive systems only. We will help you improve your shields, armor, and point defense, but not weapons, not propulsion, not our most advanced systems." "Why help us at all?" Counselor Vran asked. If you are the dominant power, why strengthen us? Because a galaxy where everyone fears everyone else is a galaxy that eventually goes to war, Chen replied. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to live as we choose. Helping you become stronger makes that easier, not harder. The negotiations stretched into weeks. Slowly, a framework emerged. Humanity would be recognized as an equal power. Trade routes would be established. Cultural exchanges would begin. And most importantly, both sides would work to prevent the kind of fear and isolation that had created this situation in the first place. But as the treaty neared completion, Kylus requested a private meeting with Admiral Chen. They met in a small observation room overlooking the station's main docking bay. Through the windows, they could see ships from dozens of species coming and going. The ordinary business of galactic civilization. Admiral, Kylus began. Before we sign this treaty, I need to know the truth. How powerful is humanity, really? The map you showed us at Kilshara, was that accurate? Chen looked at her for a long moment. Then she pulled out a small datapad and handed it over. That map was accurate as of 3 months ago. This is updated as of yesterday. Kylus looked at the data and felt her blood run cold. The number of human colonies had not been 217. It was 273. Population was not 80 billion. It was 96 billion. And the fleet numbers? You have over 300 battleships, Kylus whispered. 342, actually. Plus support vessels, carriers, and defensive platforms. Premier, the 4 ships that came to Kelshara represented less than 2% of our operational fleet. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you are signing a treaty with. This is not a partnership of equals, no matter what the language says. Humanity could conquer the Council if we wanted to. We have the ships, the weapons, and the will to do it. But we will not. Why not? Chen turned to look out the window. Because that is not who we want to be. Yes, we are aggressive. Yes, we are good at war. But most humans are not soldiers. They are farmers, teachers, artists, parents. They want to build, not destroy. The quarantine forced us to militarize out of necessity. Now that we are free, we can choose what kind of civilization we want to build. And what kind is that? One that survives. One that thrives. One that never has to ask permission to exist. Chen turned back to Kylus. The Council made a mistake 300 years ago. You saw a dangerous species and tried to contain it. You did not try to understand us. You did not try to work with us. You just locked us away and hoped we would change. That never works with humans. Pressure makes us adapt. Barriers make us stronger. You wanted to break our will. Instead, you tempered it into steel. Kylus set down the datapad. What happens now? Will humanity be content with the territories you have, or will you keep expanding? We will expand, Chen admitted. But outward into unexplored space. Not into Council territory. There is an entire galaxy out there, Premier. Room for everyone. We do not need to fight over the same systems. Until we run out of room. By then, maybe we will have learned to share, or maybe we will have found new galaxies to explore. Humans are good at finding solutions when we need them. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the ships move through the darkness. Finally, Kylus spoke again. My grandparents voted to quarantine your people. They believed they were protecting the galaxy. I wonder what they would think now, seeing what that decision created. They would probably be horrified, Chen said. But they would also have to admit that they created this outcome with their own choices. The Council had the power, so the Council made the decision. Now humanity has power, and we will make our own decisions. That is how the universe works. I suppose it is. Kylus straightened her posture, returning to the formal tone of a leader. The treaty will be signed tomorrow. Once it is official, what happens next? Trade routes open within a month. Diplomatic missions establish embassies within 3 months. Cultural exchanges begin within 6 months. And in 1 year, we hold the first Joint Council Humanity Summit to review progress and address any issues. And if there are issues, then we talk about them like civilized beings. That is the whole point of this treaty, Premier. We tried isolation. It did not work for anyone. Now we try cooperation. Maybe it will work better. The signing ceremony took place the next day. Every major news network in the galaxy broadcast it live. Billions of beings watched as Premier Kylus and Admiral Chen put their signatures on the Treaty of Coexistence, as it came to be called. The reaction across the galaxy was mixed. Some species celebrated the end of the human quarantine and the promise of new trade opportunities. Others worried about what humanity's emergence would mean for the balance of power. A few extreme groups protested, demanding that humanity be re-imprisoned before they became too strong. But the treaty was signed. Humanity was free. The galaxy would have to adapt. In the weeks that followed, human ships began appearing in council space. Trade vessels at first, carrying exotic goods from the void reaches. Then scientific expeditions eager to share and learn. Then tourists, curious about the galaxy their grandparents had been locked away from. The council watched carefully, waiting for signs of human aggression. But it never came. The humans traded fairly, followed council laws, and seemed genuinely interested in peaceful coexistence. Admiral Chen returned to human space, her diplomatic mission complete. As her ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, she recorded a final message to be broadcast across the galaxy. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council made a decision based on fear. They saw a species that was different, that approached the universe in ways they did not understand, and they chose isolation over integration. That decision shaped both humanity and the Council in ways neither side could have predicted. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Today marks a new beginning. Humanity is free. We have the power to defend that freedom, but power without wisdom is just destruction. We have spent 3 centuries preparing for war. Now we get to spend time preparing for peace. We will make mistakes. The Council will make mistakes, but we will make them together, as partners in this galaxy, not as prisoners and jailers. To every species watching this, humanity does not seek to dominate you. We seek to live alongside you. We are ready to share what we have learned, to learn from what you can teach us, and to build a future where no species has to fear imprisonment for being different.